So hello, welcome back to day 3 of CubeCon. So I'm Emma Partlow, this is Jamie Regati. We are covering My Peasant Cube, which is really exciting in this Top 64 event. So let's break it down what the Top 64 means for today. So there are 64 players left competing today for that elusive CubeCon trophy. There are 8 cube drafts going on right now, and you need to 3-0 one of those drafts to get into the top 8. And that top 8 will mean you get to play the Magic Online Vintage Cube, and more importantly, you get to be crowned the CubeCon champion if you manage to go 3-0. So basically, you need to go undefeated today to win that trophy, which is no pressure, especially when we have coverage. So just to put everyone up to speed, so Reed Duke did lose the first round, so he will not be able to top 8 this event. However, Ivan, who top 8'd last year's CubeCon, is 1-0. Drafted an incredibly strong Rakdos Sacrifice deck, and he is looking to have a revenge story, basically. He is very serious about winning this event, so expect to see him in the top 8 because the deck he drafted looked really, really strong. And made very quick work of Reed Duke, which is kind of scary when you think about it, given it's Reed Duke.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe players are shuffling up right now for round 2. And when that comes through, we will go down to the feature match area.
I have a question.
Go for it.
What does it feel like to watch people draft your cube?
It's great, but also scary, if that makes sense. Like,
Why is scary?
It's great in the sense that cool. I've had, like, you've had your Reed Dukes, your Sam Blacks, your Caleb Durwois just wanting to draft your cube because they love playing cube and they want to try all these different flavors. It's scary because they're really good competitive players and they're really good at breaking things because it's what they kind of do and they're really good at. So I'm a bit scared because it's just like, maybe they've found something that I've not realized before, or put a card in that I didn't realize, like the ceiling on it. Fortunately, I don't think that's happened yet, so we're so far so good. So we are back in the feature match area. We've got Ivan Meyer, who is on Rakdos Sacrifice. I believe Ian Braverman is on Boris Aggro, when I had a quick look earlier, but I could be wrong. So we're just shuffling up now, trying to sculpt some nice hands before we kick off.
So Ivan is taking a mulligan.
Yep, so he's going to go to 6. Rakdos Sacrifice does mulligan pretty well. If you don't have those payoffs or a low curve, it's really hard to beat. I believe Ian's on Boris Aggro, that I saw. And as we saw in the game 1 of round 1, when Ivan just went this 1-2-3 curve of carrying feeder into Lampad, into Judith, and then into Murderous Redcap, just turning everything into a lightning bolt. That's how quick this Rakdos Sacrifice deck can do. It can work that way. Like, you don't need this sacrifice theme. You can just have this aggressive curve. And Reed was on this Simic Lands deck, so Ivan was able to go under Reed quite easily. I am wrong. Ian is not on a Boris Aggro. It'd be interesting to see what Ian is on today. So this is Ivan, so I have like smoke sleeves just because of the color of my sleeves. Ivan is playing a red tap land. The Madman's Treachery is a Zendikar DFC that steals a creature, but you can flip it over to play a tap land. So it was a red tap land. So we have a Jury Master of Review here.
Off to a great start. That's an important piece for the sacrifice deck.
Yep. Someone asked in the chat, I don't believe the top 8 cube is proxied. I believe it is actual power that you're going to see today, which is super exciting. Because, don't get me wrong, I would love to hold a Black Lotus.
Yeah.
Just like a proper beta Black Lotus. Sounds really cool. So yeah, I believe the cards are, they're real. They're not proxy. Every card in this CubeCon that's been submitted in the cubes are all real. So it's going to be really exciting to see that later today. So it looks like Ian has played one of the blue splicers, which the name has escaped me for a very brief moment. It's playing a wing splicer. So wing splicer just creates a 3/3 golem, and it gives your golem creatures flying. So he has a 3/3 flyer, which is a nice evasive threat here. All right, so Ivan is deliberating on what to do next. He has 4 mana in play. He's got a couple of lands in hand, which is a little too many than what you want for the sacrifice deck, but I do see a Firebolt, which is going to chip off this Wing Splicer. Now the Golem's just a 3/3. So Ivan has just played one of the biggest downshifts for this cube. It was printed as a rare in core set 2021. It is now a common.
It's now dead, too.
And it's now dead as well. It's a really good sacrifice outlet that allows you to sacrifice a card and sacrifice a creature in your exiles and cast from the top of your library. But there's also a Riftwing Cloudscape and a Mother of Runes to tie things up. Mother of Runes is a really nice one here. Just being able to put pro-red or pro-black on your creatures when there's a lot of pinging involved. I do love a good Mother of Runes. But unfortunately, Ivan does not like a good Mother of Runes, and it's just been go for the throated. And this Dark Dweller Oracle is being replayed, which I assume was bounced off the Riftwing Cloudscape. It is wild to have a card that was once a rare and is now a common. That is like one of the most aggressive downshifts I think I've seen in a long time. But I love it because it means I get to put it in my queue.
All right, so Ian has 4 cards in hand.
Yeah. So we're playing a Timeless Witness, which is a slightly bigger Eternal Witness. So you can bring a card back from the graveyard to your hand. So it looks like it's going to be that Wing Splicer. You can also eternalize Timeless Witness from your graveyard to recast it and make a 4/4 just to get another card out of your hand. So we have a Slingang Commander here. This is going to get pretty disgusting. So it makes 2 Goblin tokens on ETB. And if you're able to find a sacrifice outlet, which we do with this Dark Dwelling Oracle, and the Zulaport Cutthroat is going to deal a lot of damage. This is going to make Jury really big. So Ivan's cleverly going to combat here, and then he's going to and he could very well sack off these tokens to make Jury bigger, which he's going to do now. And then it will trigger Zulaport Cutthroat. So he's going to lose 2, gain 2. Jury's going to get 2 counters on it, so it's going to become a 3/3. Which is going to block this Timeless Witness. And it will go to the graveyard. That was a really sweet top deck.
Yeah. Ian's in trouble here, I think.
Yeah. I think Ivan has drafted probably one of the best Ratdol Sacrifice decks I have seen when people play this cube. It seems he's cleverly navigated the situation. I'd be curious to find out what was his platform pick one. And if he was like, it was a Mayhem Devil, and I just sculpted my deck around this, which I've done, and it's a reasonable thing to do in this cube. So Ian's going to go at combat here. We do have this Riftwing Cloudscape, which will be able to get some damage in, and we just have this Golem, but Ivan's just like, life's a resource. I have a Zulaport Cutthroat.
Yeah, he doesn't really care about the damage.
I'm good to go.
Right.
Oh, we have this Angler Drake. So this is a really nice top end for the blue decks. It is able to bounce something, if I remember correctly, quickly.
And
yep. So it will bounce a target creature to the owner's hand. So I believe Ivan has just put something back to hand, and it is a massive threat. It is a 4/4 flyer. So it seems here Ian has a lot of flying matters stuff with a little bit of counter magic. So we're going to replay that Jury that was bounced. Granted, it's not free power anymore, and here comes the Murderous Red Cap.
There's the cutie.
It's not very cute in the minute. I don't think Ian's going to agree with you there. So yeah, this Murderous Red Cap's going to do a lot of damage. And given that there is this Dark Dwelling Oracle, he can sacrifice it. The Murderous Red Cap's going to come back, and Ivan will be able to exile top card of his library and play that card, because Dark Dwelling Oracle is a really good engine. And it's also going to buff up this Jury. You can see the amount of synergy that's just going on here. There's just a lot of things he can do.
Right. It's like snowballing at this point.
Yeah, it's really hard just to pick apart because you're going to take some damage or some resources in the process. It's really brutal.
And there are no wraths in this.
There is wraths in the cube, but the wraths are like in black. You have Golden Demise, which gives all creatures -2/-2. It gets bigger if you have Ascend. And there's also the Feast of Succession that we saw earlier that gives all creatures -4/-4, and you become the Monarch. I believe there's also a white board wipe in here. I can't remember if I took it out or not, but there is a few board wipes. It's going to be really hard for Ian to pick away at all these threats, just the amount of synergy available here, especially with this Murderous Red Cap. Because he's able to deal 2, make Jury bigger, trigger Zulaport Cutthroat, and exile the top card of his library. And also, Ivan could just draw the Unearth just to bring something back as well. There's just a lot of redundancy in Ivan's deck here. Even though Ivan's actually on 4, might just be a case he might lose to just some flyers here. This Angler Drake is looking pretty threatening.
Yeah, I guess if he can't deal with it, it's probably a 2-turn-ish clock.
Yeah. So this is one of the Zendikar DFC cards. I just need to get the name up quickly just to make sure I can pronounce it right.
That was the indestructible one?
I believe it's the indestructible. It seems destructible combat trick. I just need to find it. Why can't I find it? Okay, so Serigi Shelter. So it's a 2-mana white instant. Target creature you control gains protection from a color of your choice this turn. But you can also flip it on the other side, and it can be a tapped white mana source. The Zendikar DFCs have been super good for this cube.
Yeah.
That is probably the Magic set that has had the most impact in this cube. There is a bunch of cards I've added that are not only just good cards on the front side, but they allow you just to play some lands on the back.
It's fantastic.
Like Balaged Recovery is a really good one. It's a regrowth for 3 mana, but you can also play it as a land, and it's just nice to have that option. You're like, oh crud, I'm kind of mana screwed. I can just play this tap land and not play it as a spell, or you can bounce the land later on and then play it as a spell. There's a lot of synergy there.
And Kabira Takedown is another one?
Yep. Kiriba Takedown's another one. I have Malakir Rebirth, which is another good one where if you want to reanimate something, sometimes you see it in Modern in the scam decks. Just if someone wants to remove a creature, it's like, nope, I'm going to bring this back. I'm going to 2-for-1 you.
Ivan looks like he's doing math.
Yep, he's doing carrying feeder math, so that's not a good sign for Ian. He needs to see if he can win here, because if not, this Angler Drake will be a problem here. Or can he kill the Angler Drake? That might be a thing. That might be a consideration here also.
Does he still have a sack outlet on board?
He has this Dark Dwelling Oracle. It does cost 1 mana. He also has this Carrion Feeder, which is just a free sack outlet.
Okay.
So there is some things he can do here. He just needs to do the maths. He needs to do some goblin maths, basically, because we have a Murderous Red Cap and we have this Dark Dwelling Oracle.
I'm just like envisioning a goblin like in math class. Like,
yeah.
Doing math
Okay,
problems.
so we're going aggressive. Ivan has a lot of options he can do here, so he just wants to see how Ian is going to block this attack, and then we'll probably, very likely, see some sacrifice shenanigans.
Oh.
This jury has potential to go really big. I appreciate the little stick Mangolem tokens as well.
How much damage is getting through? I see.
So Slinglang is a 2-1. This jury's getting blocked, so it can get bigger, but the Wing Splice is a 1-1. The Dark Dwelling Oracle is a 1-1, I believe, and this Murderous Red Cap is a 3-2. So there is some damage here. It would just be interesting to see if Ivan wants to do any shenanigans just to try and clear the board a little bit. I also believe Ivan has no cards in hand, so he only has to work with what's in front of him, but there's a lot of synergy here. There's a lot of game actions he can just take just to manipulate this board state. And Ivan just needs to figure out how to either survive or win this turn, because his Angler Drake will win the game. Sometimes just big fat flyers can always get there, so... Which is something that happens a lot in Limited. Sometimes you think, oh, your deck's kind of mopey, but yeah, I just have this fatty flyer that someone might not be able to deal with, and you can just win.
Yeah.
I bet you've done that a few times in Limited.
Oh, yeah.
So, yep, I'm just going to play this evasive threat, and hopefully you don't have an answer for it. Oh, wait, I won the game. This is great. More of this, please.
And so, like, Ivan has answers, but not necessarily soon enough.
I don't think Ivan has any cards in hand.
Right.
I know he doesn't. So Ivan has a lot of answers in his deck.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of removal. We saw the Hero's Downfall. We saw the... Oh, what else did we see? So we saw Hero's Downfall, which is a really good one. I think there's a couple of burn spells in there. We saw the Unearth as well, which is a really good way just to 2-for-1 your opponent, because you can bring back this Jury or this Murderous Redcap and continue to do more shenanigans. There's a lot of redundancies in Ivan's deck. Ivan just can't draw too many lands. Like, he has a lot of lands in play now. 6 is quite a lot for this build just to draw into. But it looks like Ivan's going to do stuff. So we're going to suck this Sling Gang Lieutenant to Carrion Feeder, I believe, or the Dark Dwelling Oracle, and to put a counter on Jury.
So he only has one blocker. Can Carrion Feeder block?
Carrion Feeder cannot block. But that was just put into play this turn, so it does have Summoning Sickness. It's just a free sacrifice outlet because the Dark Dwelling Oracle costs 1.
Yeah.
So just having that around is really useful here. And Ivan is just looking to do some sacrifice stuff here just to make sure he can gain enough life just to fog this Angler Drake for a few turns where Ivan can hopefully draw some removal or just something just to close out this game. So we're going to sack the Carrion Feeder to the Dark Dwelling Oracle, exile the top card of our library, and hopefully can play something. Unfortunately, it's a land, but you also don't want to draw that land on your next turn.
Sure. So it helps a little bit.
It helps a little bit.
But that's not what you want to see right now.
Right. I would love to have a Hero's Downfall for this Angler Drake because my opponent's almost tapped out, and we have seen some counter magic from Ian in this game. But it looks like things are getting pretty close. I think Ivan can at least fog this Angler Drake for a turn. He's going to take 7 because of this free golem too. But also Ian's on 6, so he might be on blocking duty because this Jury is currently a 5/5.
So at this point...
And if Jury dies,
right,
he can deal 5 damage as well. So it might be a case of finding a sack outlet or killing this Jury just to kill the opponent, right?
So he's tanking a little bit here.
Yep, he needs to figure out how to survive, which does take a lot of mental bandwidth when you're playing Magic. It's like, how do I not die this game, but how do I also try to win this game? Because it's really tempting to be aggressive here, but on the flip side, it's just like a game of chicken, really.
Yeah, it's so close.
Yes. So Ian is definitely in the tank here. There is a lot to play for here this weekend because if you free out a draft, you do get to top 8 at this CubeCon event. And you do get to play the Vintage Cube. If you do lose a game in any of the Cube drafts that are played today, you are out of top 8 convention. So there is a hell of a lot to play for here. It's a lot of pressure when you think about it. It's like, yeah, I need to 3-0, and then I need to 3-0 again. It's like, you can't, there's no margin for error, right?
And, I mean, all the players are pretty solid that we've seen.
Oh,
right?
yeah, like, the players are, like, ridiculously good.
Yeah.
But it's even then, like, these players are great. They have, like, a 60-65% win rate. That's, like, 2 out of 3 wins a lot of the time. And you need to play better than that to try and get in this top 8 for CubeCon. And they just make it look so easy, and I don't know how they do it. Oh, we can flash back this Firebolt as well. I forgot about this Firebolt. That's just another 2 damage. Okay, so Ian is still very much in the tank here, figuring out how he can not die next turn.
And try to close the game out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Or a way to gain life, maybe. Just something just to stem the bleeding a little. But it's very hard when Ivan has just drafted a really, really strong Ragdoll Sacrifice deck that is able to attack on various axes. It can be aggressive, it can be synergistic, it can do the sacrifice thing. It has this controlling aspect where you have all this removal, while just slowly punishing the opponent's life total by just doing sacrifice things.
I love Rakdos. That's my favorite guild.
Really?
Yes.
My favorite guild, I don't know, my favorite guild's Boros. I like being aggressive.
Cool.
When there's a vintage cube, I always draft mono white.
And you probably win a lot.
Yeah,
'cause you
I
get
do.
under
Yeah.
decks. Yeah.
I remember a time playing vintage cube where mono white was like the most like underrated cube deck in vintage cube because no one played it because no one wants to play mono white because it doesn't seem exciting.
Yeah.
You're not doing the silly storm, time spiral, black lotus kind of
Right.
stuff,
People
right?
want to do the like crazy combos.
And I'm like, nah, I want to play the student warfare. Let's go. And everyone's just like, okay. And it's like, yeah, we'll play this game. And they're like, why? And it's like, you'll see, because I'll just play all this stuff. So we're gonna flash back this. We're gonna flash back this firebolt. But it seems Ian has channeled a colossal sky turtle, which is another sweet card in this queue from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty.
And they're scooping up.
And they are scooping up. So okay. Just double checking what's going on here. Yep, so we saw that colossal sky turtle. I believed it was channel away. I just need to remind myself what the two channel abilities are quickly.
One is bounce and one is return something.
So yeah, so the green ability was you discard the sky turtle and you return target card from your graveyard to your hand, or you discard it and return a creature to opponent's hand. So yeah, that was an interesting game. It went down to the wire much more than I thought. It seemed that Ivan was really close just to go off there. But with that, shall we talk about one of our sponsors?
Great, yeah. We're going to talk about Card Conduit.
Do you like getting rid of magic cards? Those piles of shame that just are around on your, on your desk, in your bedroom. Maybe you struggle to open a door because it's just full of magic cards and you've just been putting it off for so long. Feels like Card Conduit is just really good just to like go, yep, it's someone else's problem.
It's perfect. You just send in unsorted piles.
That's even better. I don't even have to sort them.
They
That's
sort it, they grade it, and they find the best buy list price.
That's even better.
Yep.
And then you can buy more cards and then have another pile of magic
Sure.
cards and then you repeat the process. I'm really bad at getting rid of cards, especially when they're valuable, because it's like talking about earlier about sorting cards. It's just punish you for procrastinating a bit, and if you leave it too late, you just have this mountain of cards, and it's like, great.
Well,
I should probably get rid of these, and Card Conduit can just go, it's fine, we got it for you, and that is just great, because I love peace of mind. I don't know about you.
I do. Yes, of course.
And especially as we're limited players, we have a lot of draft chaff.
Yes.
We have a lot of like bulk rares that we're never going to play because we don't really play constructed. So yeah, check out Card Conduit. They will make your life easier if you like to collect magic cards. And perhaps, you're just like, you look at that pile of shame in the corner. It's like, yeah, I should probably deal with this at some point. Card Conduit will do that for you. Right.
Do you collect anything in particular?
In Magic cards, not really. I'm not really much of a card collector. I'm someone that has cards, and if there are cards, they are in my decks. Tell a lie, I do have a collection, actually. I have a really small collection of cards that I have previewed in the past. So I have like a small binder of all the cards that I've previewed in the last few years. And once I am done previewing cards and doing whatever, I want to get them all framed in chronological order.
That's pretty cool.
Of all the cards that I've like previewed independently or with TCG Player. I think that's just a nice memento to go, yeah, I previewed these cards. This was really cool.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you collect any cards?
I do. I collect foil cuties.
Foil cuties. Do you have a foil murderous red cap?
I do.
Oh, excellent, excellent. What is the cutest magic card that you own?
This might be pretty controversial.
Okay.
It's Stir the Sands.
Okay. Can we get Stir the Sands up, please? I can't remember what this card does, if possible.
Well, there's just so there's two, there's a zombie and something else feasting on.
Yeah, okay.
But look at the Naga
okay.
in the lower right corner. He's so excited. He's so energized. He's hyped to be there with those friends. He got invited to dinner.
Yeah, it's like a girl dinner, right?
Mm-hmm. And he's just so enthusiastically
happy to be here energy.
Yes.
I can respect that. And don't get me wrong, there are hundreds of people here today that are very happy to be here at CubeCon. Even though we are in the top 64, the main event is the top 64. There is a buck ton of open play going on right now. People are just open playing cubes and playing cubes that aren't in the main event. So there's just a lot of people just having a lot of fun right now before they head out later this evening. So Ivan is going down to 6, and as we mentioned earlier, Rakdos Sacrifice is really good at mulliganing just because the curve is so low and you're able to either be aggressive, deploy the Sacrifice game plan, or just keep some removal spells just to keep the path clear.
So, I mean, this is anyone's game.
It is anyone's game. It'll be interesting to see what Ian draws here, because now he has an idea what he's up against. He's up against this really synergistic Rakdos deck that has a nice amount of removal and a nice amount of threats. But Ian also has answers. He has counter magic. He has this Colossal Sky Turtle. He has some, he has these really big flyers, like we saw the Angler Drake in the last round, that can just close out games if left unresolved. And it's a nice tempo play as well, because it bounces a creature back to the opponent's hand. So it looks like Ivan's keeping this 6. I assume Ian is keeping his 7. We have a one of the Vivid Greenlands in play, so Vivid Grove. It allows Ian to tap that for blue mana if needed. So we also have a Plains here, and it looks like Ian has no turn 2 play, but Ivan has a Zulapot Cutthroat, which is a really nice sacrifice option, just setting up that board state there. So I would assume Ian is tapping for blue here, and we have a Reflector Mage, which is going to put the Zulapot Cutthroat back to hand, and he won't be able to cast it next turn.
Strong tempo.
I love me a good Reflector Mage, but I'm also a degenerate. So we have a Judith Scourge Diva that's going to, if left unresolved, going to take over this game, because it's a little bit of power and it punishes the opponent for trying to remove your creatures. That 1 damage just stack up a lot across the game.
Right. And Judy doesn't.
Oh, we have the Soul Herder. I was really excited because Soul Herder into Reflector Mage is a disgusting combination.
That's awesome.
I mentioned this at the start of the program, and I'm really happy I get to see it right now.
This is exactly what you wanted to see. Yeah, this is
I
great.
really like the Blink deck because it's just the kind of Magic I like to play. But we do have a Flaytongue Yearling for this Soul Herder.
Before it gets out of control.
Yeah, but we did see the Timeless Witness last game, so Ian can bring that back if needed. But this Reflector Mage has done a bunch of work already. So here's an Eternal Witness.
Already.
So looks like it's going to be a nice 2-for-1 here, and that Soul Herder is very likely going to come back pretty soon. And Flickering Eternal Witness is really nice in the late game because you get those cards out of your graveyard.
So much value.
You can control the board with this Reflector Mage. You can, if it goes long enough, you can flicker back the Angler Drake. And it looks like Eternal Witness is going to get firebolted.
And that's Jury again?
That is, so this is Judith.
Oh, the Judith came back.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So they're very similar arts because they're both of the same frame. But yeah, this is a Judith. So she's going to take 1 here because of the Judith trigger. And it'll be interesting to see what Ian does next. Does he deploy the Soul Herder again, even though it's on an empty board? So we have an Avacyn's Pilgrim, which is just a nice mana dork. Gets a little awkward with this Judith if the creature does die. We have a Skin Render, so bye-bye Avacyn's Pilgrim. Ooh. And we're just going to rumble in for a bunch of damage here. And Ian is also choking on lands a little bit, which is a shame. So we have a Mist Meadow Witch here, which is a really nice blink payoff. But you don't want your blink playoffs to be on blocking duty, which is what they are doing right now, because this Judith and this Skin Render is going to push him for a hell of a lot of damage.
Right. And that Cutthroat is just
there, staring down at you, going, yeah, you will lose a life when one of my creatures die. It's a very intimidating threat. So this is a Blood Artist, which just as another, we're just stacking up on threats now. So we have the Hero's Downfall for the Mist Meadow Witch, and now Ivan's just going to push in for a buck ton of damage, and this game is going to be ending very quickly.
Yeah.
As mentioned earlier, this Rakdos Sacrifice deck can just be aggressive, and Judith is the perfect card to deal with that strategy. And there we go.
Yeah.
So Ivan is now 2-0. Ian, for what it's worth, had a really nice deck. It's just a tad slow with the just the amount of aggression that Ivan's able to do with this Rakdos Sacrifice build.
Right, and stumbling on lands. I mean, Ivan was able to...
Yeah, like stumbled on lands. Like, to be fair, it looked like Ian kept a really good hand. He did have 3 lands and a bunch of interaction, but and a bunch of like blink payoffs, but Ivan just had the answers every single time.
Yeah.
So we're going to go up to the backup match now, as that game ended fairly quickly. So we've got Mike Schmidt and George Lowry playing right now. So it seems based on what I can see here, that George Lowry has drafted a Selesnya countery token style deck,
Ooh.
which is something you would like, Jamie, because I know you love
Yes.
Selesnya. And it looks like Mike has a nice pile of Jeskai cards. I see a Cloud Blazer in the graveyard. I see... Oh, what's the other Blink payoff? Let me just get it up quickly. Looks like it's an Elite Guild. Cloudblazer and Elite Guild Mage. So the Elite Guild Mage is in the graveyard and Cloudblazer is in play. There is also a Seeker of the Way, which is a nice prowess payoff if there's any just like non-creature spells to trigger with it. The lifelink might be relevant in this matchup because there's a lot of tokens. There's this Rancor on the other side, so being able to just mitigate that would be really nice.
George's board is quite wide.
Yep. You must like the style of deck.
I love it. It's great.
We also, so on George's side, we do have a Spirited Companion who's a very good boy. We have a Fraven Inspector, which is one of the best Magic cards ever printed. And then we have a Citizen's Crowbar, a Rancor that are attached to these spirits. And it looks like we have a Journey to Nowhere on this Glimmer Point Stag, which is a really good blink target. It can tap down some threats. And it's also a 3/3, so it can get into battle quite nicely. In Mike's hand, it looks like we have a Cast Out, which is just a nice way to deal with any non-land permanents. I believe I see a Repulse or a counter. So a Repulse or an Exclude in hand, which is just a nice counter spell. It seems like Mike's deck is a very sort of reactive deck, so it will offer plenty of answers, and if there's no answers, I will just progress my board state. So it looks like George is reanimating this Treetop Village, which will be a 3/3 with Trample. Is pretty nasty if you manage to can equip a Rancor to it. Or Citizen's Crowbar. But it looks like George is pantsing up this spirit, because these spirits do fly, and this Cloudblazer is tapped from attacking last turn. I do like a good Bogles deck. I used to play a lot of Bogles in Modern, so I like putting a lot of pants on stuff, so I can respect the strategy. So players are just figuring out what to do here with combat. It looks like George is going to rumble in with a whole lot of stuff.
2 flyers.
Maths is for blockers, folks. Maths is for blockers. So we have a Cast Out that we can cast with Flash. It's going to trigger Prowess on the Seeker of the Way, which is going to block this Treetop Village quite nicely. And we're going to target this Journey to Nowhere, which means Mike can get back his Glimmer Point Stag.
What's the power and toughness on that?
Glimmer Point Stag is a 3/3.
Okay.
So it can block really well. It can also attack really well. Glimmer Point Stag is a really nice payoff for these Blink decks. Not that this is like a dedicated Blink deck, but it just has a nice bit of value. It also has Vigilance, so it's able to do quite a lot here.
Also a cutie.
It is a cutie. It's a cutie from Mirrodin. You should make a cuties commander deck. I don't know who would be the cutest commander, though. Must be really hard.
Do you think Luris is cute?
I mean, the baby's cute.
Yeah.
Luris's baby is very cute. Luris could work well. Okay, so we're still figuring out blocks here. See if George has anything up his sleeve, because he does have that 2 untapped mana, so he could very well have a combat trick here, or just something to fog the board. There is a Berserk in the cube. I believe Berserk is a sorcery, but that is something that we could see later on in this game. Okay. So Treetop Village. So we've had a bunch of damage come through. That Glimmer Point Stag has just done an incredible amount thanks to that Cast Out. And I believe the borderless card there is a Wall of Omens, which is an 0/4 when it ETBs you draw a card. So that attack wasn't really that great for George. It looks like Mike's been able to keep a lot of his threats around. He managed to unlock that Glimmer Point Stag.
Yeah.
The Seeker of the Way did some value, got some life back thanks to that Prowess and lifelink. Be interested to see what George follows up here. Looks like George just played a Shepherd of the Flock, which is just a free one. The adventure side, that is really good because it's able to bounce something back to hand. But it looks like Mike's in a more commanding position here, even though George has won the first game of this round.
Yeah, that cast out was big.
That cast out was very big, just to be able to lock away that Journey to Nowhere. So it looks like Mike's going to go into combat. We have the Cloud Blazer, which is pretty much going to go over for free. And then we have this Seek of the Way that has a lot of potential to deal a lot of damage thanks to that prowess and lifelink. I do see a Prophetic Bolt in Mike Schmidt's hand, which is a really nice one to deal here. It can just clean up any threat while triggering this prowess. I also see a Wasteland in Mike's hand, which is going to be a really nice answer for this Treetop Village. Leave as a Wasteland. It kind of looks like a Wasteland. It's hard to tell. So, yep, here comes the Prophetic Bolt. It's going to trigger a whole host of things. And we have the classic Game 2 handshake, even though it's 1-1. It happens to the best of us. I have done Game 1 handshakes before if the game has gone way too long, because it just feels like it's the game has gone much longer than it has. So yeah, like Mike, it seems to have a really cool, not quite blink heavy deck, but just like a Jeskai like mid-range deck. There's just a lot of good individual cards. There's a lot of good removal in white. So you have your Journey to Nowheres and your cast outs, which are really hard to remove and get those cards back. But yeah, it's like we're having a good time here. What have you enjoyed about CubeCon this weekend? Like, what's it like to be here and see
it's wonderful.
400 people just... Imagine being in a place where a cube is always going to fire.
Right. That's amazing. And like, so this is Sunday, so not everybody's playing the main event anymore. It's only top 64.
Yeah.
But it's as full as it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Like people came back to hang out and play more cube.
Like this event hall has to close at some point, and it's going to be really hard to kick those people out because all they want to do is cube. I would not be surprised if there is like a lobby con after this where people are just going to invade a hotel and play lots more cube because they just do not want to stop. So that was round 2. We've got one more round to go. We're going to have, we've got one more round. We've got one more game after this, but we're going to get really close. I'm going to see if someone can beat Ivan with this ridiculously good Rakdos Sacrifice deck. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes 3-0 because it seems like he navigated the draft really well. I'd be really curious to see what was his pack 1 pick 1 and if he committed to Rakdos Sacrifice straight away or that it was passed to him. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens here. Hopefully people will sleep up pretty soon and we can get back to the feature match. What is your favorite card to draft in Cube? Is there like a particular card, like in Vintage Cube, for example?
I mean, I do love green, white, go wide stuff. So if there's anything that supports that. I don't know if Tristani is in cubes.
Tristani used to be in the cube. Tristani's a really fun one, especially like the newer Ravnica one, because it just makes like loads of tokens.
Yeah.
And has this weird ability where you can just like get back the stuff that people stole from you. Okay, so Mike has played a thriving land on white. I believe it's the red-white one, or it's the red land that he has named white. So this is an Anafenza Kintry Spirit, another recent downshift from Commander Masters. So it's a two mana 2/2, I believe, in white, and it has bolster. So when a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can bolster 1 where you put a +1/+1 counter on it.
That's pretty sweet.
It's a really nice one because you can play mono white aggro in this cube. So there's plenty of like Savannah Lions and that kind of thing. And here's the goodest boy, but he's going to unfortunately get miscalced.
No.
So no card draw for you, but we're going to rumble in with this 2/2 Anafenza. How can you counter the good boy? I'm upset.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Mike had mana open, wanted to use it, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, if this is a blink deck,
yeah,
the companion's fantastic.
So George has played one of the Zendikar DFCs that turn it into a land. I believe that is a white source based on the color of the sleeve. So we have a Soltari Monk here, which is just a creature with shadow, but it's going to get excluded here. Or repulse, sorry. And this Anafenza continues to get in. So we have a Dryad Militant here, which is a really nice card that deals with instants and sorceries in the graveyard. Looks like George is kind of, I don't know, I know it's like a green-white deck, but this feels very white weenie.
Yeah.
It looks like Mike has a Seal Away, which is a really nice answer. We have a Cast Out, we have a Mana Leak.
Mana Leak. Oh.
And we have I believe I see a Cloud Blazer in there as well. So Mike has plenty of options there. We also have this Wasteland, which is it's gonna do some things soon. We're gonna seal away this Anafenza before she gets out of control. And Mike's gonna keep up this Mana Leak and will literally counter
Probably anything.
Probably anything at this point, depending on if George has another land. So we're going to rumble in with this 2/2 Dryad Militant, and it looks like, unfortunately, George is out of lands, which is a huge shame because this Wasteland's going to look really good blowing up this DFC Zendikar land. So, yeah, we've got a Cloud Blazer, so we're going to gain some life and draw some cards.
Great.
A really fun card back from Kaladesh Limited. And I also saw Mike drawing a Momentary Blink, which is really nice with this Cloud Blazer. You can just draw a bunch of cards, gain a bunch of life, and just have a good old time blinking away.
I don't know if George can keep up with that much value.
Nope. So we do have a Midnight Haunting here, which is going to get George some two Flying Spirit tokens, probably on back blocking duty because this Cloud Blazer is going to probably be here for a little while. Oh, so we have an Usher of the Fallen, which is a really nice mono-white, like aggro style card. You kind of don't want to draw it right now. You kind of want that on turn 1 with this Anafenza. But we're just looking to come up the board with a bunch of counters, thanks to Usher of the Fallen's boast ability.
So that's 8?
Yeah, and considering Mike's tapped out, he can't snap off this Mana League to deal with the Usher of Fallen. So George is just trying to go as wide as possible before Mike can pull back into this game, because it feels like Mike has drafted the side of the deck. The longer the game goes, the better chance he has of winning. So we have an Elite Guard Mage here, which is another flyer that can gain some life and draw some cards and just gum up this evasive board state. So also a Crystal Shard, which is a really, really, really... a card that's really underappreciated in this cube, very similar in the sense of Sentinel Glade. Like, people don't understand why Crystal Shard's in the cube and what it does, but it's the kind of card that if an opponent knows what they're doing, you will lose to it, and then you're like, yes, I'm going to draft this from now on because it's really, really good. It's just a lot of synergy and shenanigans you can do with the card. So we're going to blink this Cloud Blazer. Be still my heart. Give me all the card draw and all the life gain, which is relevant considering Mike is currently on now on 9 and facing down a board of around 7 to 8 power. Someone in the chat has asked when you could do a cutie cube.
And maybe I'm working out already.
Yeah, a deck full of cuties. Let's go.
So Mike is trying to figure out what to do here.
Yep, he's just thinking, how can I stay alive? Because we are doing some we're doing some maths, and you know when the fingers come out, it's not going to be good. Like, Mike has plenty of stuff in his hands, so he is a little choked on white mana. He does have to lean on this thriving land, and this Azorius Chancery. Granted, it's a white land, but you can't play straight away because it is a bounce land, so it will come into play tapped.
Is that a wasteland?
That is a wasteland, yes. It's the secret layer printing. The reason I picked that art because it's got the City of Brass in the background destroyed thanks to the wasteland. I thought it was a nice flavorful nod. And I'm as you can tell, I'm slowly trying to foil out the cube, and that is like the cheapest foil copy of Wasteland you can get without looking at the Judge promos and the expeditions. So it looks like Mike has just run out this Crystal Shard and an Evolving Wild. Body language doesn't look too great.
I mean, George is stuck on mana.
Yeah. But we have a Path to Exile, and that will be GG. So George Lowry is currently 2-0, and who will likely play Ivan in the next round. So this is going to be really interesting matchup. It's going to be a really interesting matchup just because George has this go wide green-white deck with lots of 1/1s facing up Ivan, who has stuff like Mayhem Devil, who can just chip away these spirit tokens like it's nobody's business. I fancy Ivan to 3-0 based on the matchup, but it depends on if George can just be on the play and have this really aggressive start. Play stuff like Usher of the Fallen, play stuff like Inoffensive Kintree Spirit, and bolster the board as much as possible so Mayhem Devil does not become a problem. However, as we both know, Ivan is packed with removal as well. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. So right now we're going to go to a quick break before we do round 3 and we announce our first top 8 competitor of this CubeCon.
Yeah.
So don't go anywhere and we'll be back soon.